Thanks for joining us today for Jennifer Schaus and Associates in our Webinar Wednesday program. We are coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Our webinars are every Wednesday and are provided complimentary. They are recorded and can be downloaded from our website and YouTube channel, which now holds over 400 of our government contracting webinars. In the interest of time, we do not take questions, so if you do have questions for our speaker, we will have her information on the last side of the presentation today. A special thanks to our educational sponsor, the National Veteran Small Business Coalition, for making these webinars possible. The NVSBC is the largest nonprofit trade association for veterans. Please visit their website for more information. Okay, and now a little bit about us. We work with U.S. federal government contractors, including product, service, and software firms. Our services range from market analysis reports to contract vehicles and compliance, and more information is on our website. We also have opportunities for your organization to advertise in our newsletter. We now reach over 21,300 subscribers, and this includes both contractors and government. Contact us for pricing information with the email shown on your screen. And please join us on Tuesday, December 1st for a virtual conference. You can see the agenda listed here, and the registration link is on our website under events. And please note that this event is virtual. As noted, we have over 400 webinars in our archives. As we continue to educate federal contractors, I would like to bring your attention to our webinar schedule for 2021. The full schedule and speakers are all confirmed now. First up is a monthly series called the GovCon Live Q&A Cafe. This is a live webinar series held each month. These will take place on the second Friday of each month in 2021 at 12 p.m. Eastern. We have assembled a group of 4 panelists who are subject matter experts on a specific federal contracting topic. The panelists will make a short presentation about the topics listed here on your screen and then take your live questions about that topic. So for example, January will kick off with our panelists covering CMMC on Friday, January 8th. Our panelists include attorneys, consultants, and other industry professionals. You can sign up on our website under the Q&A Cafe tab. Sponsorships are available. Please email hello@jenniferschaus.com for a media kit with pricing details. Okay, and in our second webinar series in 2021, we will be covering each part of the DFARS, or Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations. Similar to our current FAR series, this will be a weekly series dedicated to defense contracting, its rules, and specific regulations. This series is complimentary and will be held on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. We will run through the parts sequentially, which means that we'll start the year with DFARS Part 201 and finish with Part 252 at the end of the year. And you can sign up on our website under the DFAR tab. And again, sponsorships are available, and you can email hello@jenniferschaus.com for a media kit with pricing details. Okay, now to introduce our speaker, Marcia Lindquist. Welcome, Marcia. We are glad to have you here with us today, and I'll now turn the floor over to you.
Thank you all very much for attending today. I'm looking forward to discussing this topic because, after all, profitable rates are an important part of moving forward with all of your bids. They should all be profitable. So let's move right into our first slide. And in here, I want to talk about the importance of getting early involved in your pricing. It's very, very critical. Why do I say that? Because the core of what you are doing in pricing is focused on, should be focused on your capture strategy, and pricing is part of that. How else are you going to know whether you have a competitive position or not? It's important for you to develop the important profitable rates at the time you are putting together your capture strategy. That's when you are coming up with the key differentiators for your technical as well as your price, because your price key differentiators will determine really the direction that your strategic pricing will take. Everybody who is working the technical solution should invite those of us who are involved in pricing into that discussion, because if you're not involved with a technical solution, then how do you know whether you're going to be putting together profitable rates? So you've got to make sure that the technical is aligned with pricing. You should be, how could I say this, hand in hand with the technical people all along during the process in order to make sure, that your pricing is involved along with your technical. It really is critical, or you'll be out of sync. If the people who are evaluating your pricing proposal are reading the technical proposal as well, I'm just letting you know that they are same people, and that they need to be not in conflict. They need to be singing the same things. How often do you get to questions that you are presented by the government and find out only too well that you've not been talking to one another? Why is that important? Because pretty soon you've got questions about your pricing that are related to why the technical is not saying the same thing as your pricing. Why do I say that? The most important reason is so that you've got a competitive position. In this, involvement in early pricing means that you are crafting the pricing at the capture stage and all throughout the entire bid proposal process. All right, and in the next slide, we're going to talk about a lot of important aspects of your teammates. Ooh, teammates. They can wreck the price. I just can't tell you how often we have a prime contractor who has established what all the parameters are around putting together a competitive price. And then pretty soon we have teammates coming in and, oh my God, it's not enough. Okay. So what's involved in taking your teammates into consideration? You've got to first, and I'm going to talk about this, come up with your own targets for your teammates in order to make sure that you have at a profitable rate. If you do not have targets for your teammates, then how do you know what you're aiming for? Now, let's make a really important distinction here. You may come up with those targets, but you're not going to give them to your teammates right out of the box, okay? You're going to establish what those targets are. And how can you do this? Back on that last slide, and I don't mean that you should change to that slide, but on that last slide, you've established what your targets are. You already know what you are expecting your teammates to come in at, but you don't give them that. You make a call for their data, and you make sure that they are in concert with what your targets are. At that point in time, you make them give you, if you're the prime contractor, that is, you make them give you what their pricing will be, and you see how it relates to the targets that you've established. More importantly than anything else, let me talk about that willingness for price flexibility. You should have had that discussion with your teammates relative to their willingness to be flexible about the price. If they are not willing to be flexible about the price, then you got to question whether they should be on your team or not. These are teammates who will provide you with customer data as well as your own intelligence gathering efforts. They will also provide you legally obtained competitor data so that you know what you should be aiming for, and you want them involved in the overall price strategy, get their ideas about what needs to be done in order to get to a very, very responsive and profitable price. How do you do that? You follow these 5 steps, okay? You make sure there is time to mitigate any issues at the beginning. You establish that they are willing to be open to achieving the pricing targets. You make sure that they are involved with you on developing various strategic planning and pricing, creative generation of data, okay? but you also make sure that they are involved in the best response to you about the best pricing. So in the next slide, and it's important to make sure that your teammates are on board with you. How do you get to a profitable rate? Well, you got to do a basis of estimate, okay? In my surveying of clients, I have found that a full 40% of the respondents do not do a basis of estimate each and every time they come up for bid. So basis of estimate is a critical factor in making sure that you know how you got to the price that you got to. So what are the steps? Here is the process. You've got a kickoff with all of the technical people to make sure everybody's on the same page. You have a primary point of contact for each BOE that you're doing. You create, the most important thing is create the template in Excel for the data that you need to gather. And depending upon how complex this proposal may be, you might have a Word document that describes in text what you are doing as well. These are two critical, number 3 and number 4 are critical steps to making sure that you have a well-rounded basis of estimate. Not only the numbers, but the words that go along with it that describe how did you do your estimate. What was it based on? Was it based on history? Was it based on empirical data that you got new, market research data? Did you go out and solicit your vendors? Here's the thing. You need to make it easy for the technical team to complete the Excel and Word files. You can't make it hard for them. These are going to be the same people who are writing the technical proposal who are also probably doing the BOEs. These are the people that you need to depend upon for that technical data. How are you going to know whether you have profitable rates if you don't know what your rates were based upon? Okay, make sure. Here's the next step. Multiple iterations of it. Plan for it. If you do not plan for multiple iterations of it, you will get surprised. Most of the time, I plan for a minimum of 3 iterations of the BOEs so that you can translate that to 3 iterations of your pricing as well, because after all, these BOEs will feed your pricing. Again, create summaries and analysis so that you can put that in front of the decision makers who need to be able to look at what you've done. All right, next slide. In the next slide, we're going to talk about what people do most to achieve a winning price. Well, I say they do it all, right? They use a very, very stringent pricing strategy process. They follow some of the things that we've talked about already this morning. They use all of the tools in the toolbox. They're not just looking at the profit margins or the indirect rates. They're looking at it all, okay? They're developing and updating the pricing strategy as they go along. Again, if you start in the capture stage and you refine your pricing strategy throughout, then you will have a winning price ultimately. Come up with your value proposition. What are the things that your customer cares about? And you must monetize it. Again, when you put together your pricing strategy, you need to make sure that you do dollarize the value that you're bringing to the customer. Or, very honestly, if you don't point it out to them, if you make it hard for them to go hunt for it, then it's going to be maybe not a winning proposition for you. Give them visuals. Show them in pictures, graphics, tables, important graphics that will drive your point home. Engage in the various pricing strategy techniques that we've talked about here today, and we will add some more here in a minute. And avoid the pitfalls. We're going to talk about pitfalls in a few minutes. So in the next slide, what's important here in this slide is that you do it all. Here are the pitfalls. These are the most common ones that I find out there in the marketplace, okay? You don't have customer intelligence. If you don't have customer intelligence, then you are just guessing. You have to make price to win a priority, not a guessing game. No pricing strategy. I just wrote about this morning. How many times do you find that you've got an executive in the 11th hour who says, cut 10% off the price? That's not a pricing strategy. A pricing strategy is developed very early on, like I say, during the capture stage. You integrate it into the proposal process, and you refine as you go along. Again, back to that missing cost and technical integration. We talked about that probably in the first slide. If you don't have that in those two volumes integrated, you can have things that are out of sync, inconsistencies. What does that do? That raises a doubt inside your evaluator's mind. You've got to make a plan for unusual costs. That's the most important thing. In the next slide, Hunter, then you're going to not cut money across the board. Here are my top 3 pricing strategies. All right. These are the 3 things that you can do to make a profitable rate for yourself, right? Most importantly, I like to impact the G&A. I'm going to start on the right-hand side and move over. Every time you go after a bid, you have the potential for impacting your G&A in a very positive way. In other words, as your business grows, the denominator of your business should increase at a much greater rate than the expense side. That means that you can drive your G&A rate down with each new bid, particularly if it's new business. You want to take a look at efficiencies. Where have you done some of the things that the customer is asking you for more efficiently than perhaps they are saying in the RFP? If you can do something in less time, or you can do it more efficiently over time, then you want to point out those efficiencies and incorporate that into your pricing. The other is staff greening. And this is not just we hire somebody in year 1, we throw escalation on there, and the numbers grow and grow and grow. You would want to judiciously make changes to your staffing as the time grows over the life of the contract, so that you can show both senior and junior people joining, junior people replacing the senior people over time and growing with the company. It's a great story. All right, next slide. So in the next slide, I wanted to leave you with these thoughts. How many times have you been told you lost on price? I would venture a guess to say that a lot of the people here are hearing that they lost on price too often, right? So I'm asking you to challenge it. Don't always believe it. Have you used historical data for performance costing information? If you have, then you show a great foundation for how your prices are steeped in history. Did you go out and get a price to win information, or did you do it yourself? Either way, you've got to know what the price is to win. You also have to take a look at the competitive landscape, do an analysis of what your competitors are likely to do so that you know what it is you're up against. Do you have a robust subcontracting team? In other words, back to that teammates can wreck the price part of this. Are they the kind of people who are helpful in your pricing? Are they helpful technically as well? Do you have a winning technical solution? Was it developed late in the game? Is the technical solution the real reason that you lost not on price? In other words, get those adjectival evaluations that let you know whether you had an excellent technical solution and the price was not as good. Or is it the other way around? You had a good price, but the technical solution was just good. All right. If you didn't do your homework and give yourself time to consider your pricing strategy, that could be the reason that you do not win. If you don't have a good pricing strategy that you've developed from the beginning, then it's going to show not only in your pricing, but it will show in your wins as well. You want to make sure that you win with a good price. Thank you very much, Hunter.
Thank you, Marcia, for a great presentation and sharing your time with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us for this webinar. The recording will be on our website and YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. Please join us this Friday as we cover each part of the FAR, and you can join us next Wednesday for more hot topics in federal contracting.